for sisters, I want y'all to understand something. I'm saying this to y'all. Two of the most important chapters that you can read in the Bible, there's many, but there's two chapters in the Bible that you should constantly be going through and gaining understanding of. Proverbs 31. Every last one of y'all should know Proverbs 31. That should not be an issue for you to understand it. And when you're reading it, in the beginning, it's going to be hard, right? It's very much against the Babylonian mindset. The second book is the book of Sirach, or Ecclesiasticus, chapter 26. I encourage y'all to read those. But a husband is also a rest to the wife. Why? Because she now has a hedge of protection. She has somebody to guide her. She has somebody to teach her, right? She has somebody to provide the things that are needed for her. Give me that.
If there be kindness.
If. Now look at this, because it says that you can be beautiful, but there's a contingency. Beautiful woman that is not kind is a thorn in a man's side. So you want to make sure that you are proving with wisdom so that your house and your seed is blessed by God. Today's class we're going into is going to be the finish or the finale to the class that I did last week, which is coming out of the book of Ruth, and it is entitled Proving with Wisdom. So this is Proven with Wisdom, the finale. All right, we covered Ruth chapters 1 and 2. Now we're going to cover Ruth chapters 3 and 4, and we're going to look at the process of proving out of the book of Ruth, because there's actually some gems in the book of Ruth that teaches wisdom and give us understanding on how we should be proving or helping us in our proving process. Bring up the definition of the word proven from the last time that we were on. So it says to establish the existence, truth, or validity of, as by evidence or logic. To establish the existence, truth, or validity. All right. Read B.
To demonstrate as having a particular quality or worth.
Okay. So to demonstrate as having a particular. So proving means that you allow somebody to demonstrate that they have a particular quality or worth. Go to the next one, because I think the next one, the archaic. Right. Read that. Archaic.
Archaic. To learn.
To learn.
Or find out by experience.
So proving somebody means that you learn them or you find them out through experience, meaning over a period of time, you begin to see whether or not this person is really valid, if this person is really worthy of you entering into a covenant or a relationship with them. In this case, marriage. In other cases, friendship. Finding a true friend, right? Okay, cool. So now let's jump into it. Read Romans 15 and 4. Again, we're dealing with proving with wisdom, and this is out of the book of Ruth, and we're covering chapters 3 and 4 today. Read that. Romans 15 and 4, please.
The book of Romans, chapter 15 and verse 4. For whatsoever things were written aforetime were written for our learning.
Whatever things were written aforetime, meaning whatever was written before us, was written for us to learn from. Come on.
That we, through patience and comfort of the scriptures, might have hope.
And it's the word of God that is our comforter. So if we listen to the word of God, if we listen and abide, meaning move according to the word of God, then we will be comforted in the word of God. We will have our hope in the word of God. We won't have to be a hopeless people any longer. All right? So those things are very important. Let's go to the book of Ruth, chapter 3. We're going to start at verse number 1 in the book of Ruth. Ruth, chapter 3, start at verse number 1. We're going to go through this thing.
The book of Ruth, chapter 3 and verse 1.
Uh-huh.
Then Naomi, her mother-in-law, said unto her, My daughter, shall I not seek rest for thee, that it may be well with thee?
Okay, so in chapters 1 and 2, or in the last class, you'll see that in chapter 1, Naomi was married to Elimelech. There was a famine in the land. Naomi and Elimelech went over into our brothers Reuben's land. They left Judah, Bethlehem, Judah, and they went east of the Jordan into the land of Reuben. And in the land of Reuben, they were there for 10 years. They had sons. They took 2 sons with them. The 2 sons during that time found wives and got married. And then Elimelech died, and then eventually Naomi's 2 sons died. So it left Naomi and her 2 daughters-in-law, Orpah and Ruth. It left them as widows. The famine is now gone. The Most High has blessed the land of Bethlehem, Judah. And this is all chapter 1. Has blessed the land of Bethlehem, Judah. And Naomi receives word that it's okay to come back into the land because things are good. And she goes back with a sorrowful heart. Well, when she's going back, her 2 daughters-in-law, who are Moabitesses, meaning they are what we would call today Chinese women, were going to go back with her. But Orpah decides not to go. She turns and goes back to her people. And Ruth decides that no matter what Naomi tells her, she's like, look, you're my mother now. Your people, my people. Whatever customs you keep are the customs I keep. She showed a loyal heart, a very loyal heart. And they went back into the land of Bethlehem, Judah. Once they got back into the land of Bethlehem, Judah, then there was a series of things that took place. Ruth, realizing that her mother was older and that they had no man in the house, Ruth took a job. And she went out, she gleaned in the field. She met Boaz, who ended up being the next of kin. And from there, things transpired. So go back and read chapter 1 and 2, but that's a summary of what happened. Now we're in chapter 3. Read that again, starting at verse 1. Just wanted to give y'all a summary.
Verse 1. Then Naomi, her mother-in-law.
So Naomi, her mother-in-law, meaning the mother-in-law of Ruth,
said unto her, My daughter, shall I not seek rest for thee, that it may be well with thee?
Now, why is it important to understand mother-in-law? Because, again, in the times that we live in, we don't understand that your father-in-law and your mother-in-law are your parents. And that's why she called her my daughter in the way that she did. Tobit, chapter 10 and verse 12. Read that real quick.
The book of Tobit, chapter 10 and verse 12.
Come on.
And he said to his daughter, Honor thy father and thy mother-in-law.
Honor thy father. So he was telling his daughter that he was sending off with Tobias to marry. She was now becoming his wife. She was going to be taken back to his house, which is how we were supposed to do it. A man leave his father and his mother and cleave to his wife, right? So she's going back to the land of Tobias's father, and her father is giving her instructions to do what again?
And he said to his daughter, Honor thy father and thy mother.
So his instructions to his daughter were to honor her father and mother-in-law. In-law, meaning the parents of the family that she married into. Why?
Which are now thy parents.
Which are now your parents. So understand, when you get married, your father-in-law and your mother-in-law are your parents. Just like the father and mother that raised you, that brought you into the earth. You now see your father and mother-in-law as your parents. And that's how we're supposed to act. We're supposed to act accordingly when it comes to that. So honor thy father and thy mother extends to your father and mother-in-law as well. All right, so let's go back. So now Naomi is saying to her in Ruth chapter 3, read verse 1 again.
Ruth chapter 3 and verse 1. And Naomi, her mother-in-law.
Her mother-in-law.
Said unto her, My daughter.
That's why she called Ruth her daughter. She accepted Ruth as her daughter. Ruth accepted Naomi as her mother. Come on.
Shall I not seek rest for thee, that it may be well with thee?
So Naomi asked Ruth, shall I not seek rest for thee? Understand something. This rest that she's speaking about is speaking about a husband. This rest that she's speaking about is a husband. Now, we know that the Bible says that a wife is a pillar of rest to the husband, but a husband is also a rest to the wife. Why? Because she now has a hedge of protection. She has somebody to guide her. She has somebody to teach her, right? She has somebody to provide the things that are needed for her. Give me that in the book of Genesis chapter 3. Genesis chapter 3, verse 16. Watch this. This is why Naomi said that she was seeking a rest, meaning a husband for Ruth. Read that.
The book of Genesis, chapter 3 and verse 16.
Come on.
Unto the woman he said, I will greatly multiply thy sorrow.
So God said unto the woman, unto Eve, I will greatly multiply thy sorrow. Come on.
And thy conception. In sorrow thou shalt bring forth children.
In sorrow you will bring forth children. Read.
And thy desire shall be
and thy what?
And thy desire.
All of the desires, all of the things that you need. Your teaching, your clothing, your place to stay, the food in your mouth. All of the things that you need, your desires, read.
Shall be to thy husband.
He will be your rest. He will be a hedge of protection and the place where you rest. And when he brings you into his house, you become a pillar of rest to him. That's why she said. Now, she said it before. Go back to Ruth chapter 1. Read verse number 9. Ruth chapter 1 and verse 9. Because Ruth said it earlier in the book.
The book of Ruth, chapter 1 and verse 9. The Lord grant you that ye may find rest.
The Lord grant you that you may find rest.
Each of you in the house of her husband.
That's the rest. So when she said, I'm going to seek rest for you, Naomi was saying, I'm going to seek a husband for you, or I'm going to show you how to get a husband. That's the aged woman's job. The aged woman is supposed to teach the young women how they're supposed to be so that they can get married. Not like today when you got these aged women today that's giving women all type of foul advice, right? They give women all type of crazy advice, bro. Like, I remember one time hearing a woman tell her daughter how to make a Negro break her off in cash if he come and stay at her house. I said, man, that's flat out prostitution. If a Negro want to hang out with you, he got to give you money. That's prostitution. You setting your daughter up to be a damn whore. Like, that's the stuff you hear from aged women. Crazy. But let's go back in the book of Ruth. So the aged women are supposed to teach these things, and we're going to see as we go through how Naomi dealt with her. All right? So Ruth chapter 3, now let's read verse 2. So that rest that she seeks for her is a husband. Verse 2.
Ruth chapter 3 and verse 2. And now is not Boaz of our kindred, with whose maidens thou wast?
So she's explaining to her, remember, Boaz is our next of kin. Basically, she's saying this is who we're going to go after. He's the next of kin. Why? Because we read in Deuteronomy chapter 25, verses 1 through 10, that there is a law to raise up seed to your brother. Right? So Boaz is the next of kin, and Naomi is relying on Boaz being in the spirit, which we read in chapters 1 and 2 that he is. He understands what his duty is. All right? But she's reminding her Boaz is the next of kin. He's the person that's supposed to be there to raise up seed to Kilion, your deceased husband, my deceased son. All right? Keep reading.
Behold, he winnoweth barley tonight in the threshing floor.
And he's going to go and separate the barley tonight in the threshing floor. Now, I want y'all to remember from chapter 1, when they went in, it was during the time of harvest, meaning during the time of Passover. All right? So now they're beginning to bring in the grains. So now this is over a period of time, and he's at the threshing floor, and now he's taking all of the grains that he's taken in, and he's winnowing. Winnowing means to separate them, right? It's a process that they would go to separate the shell or the skin of it from the actual grain that you would use, and it would separate it, and you would take the grain, and the shells would go the other direction. So she's saying he's going to be down there working grain tonight, All right, in the threshing floor. Come on.
Wash thyself therefore.
Do what?
Wash thyself therefore.
She said, go take a bath. She giving her instruction like an aged woman should. Go ahead.
And anoint thee.
Uh-huh.
And put thy raiment upon thee.
She said, girl, here's what I want you to do. I want you to go and take you a nice hot shower and then put on some of that good perfume. Put that oil on your body, make your skin soft and supple. Put that perfume on and put on your nice dress and that nice head wrap. And I want you to go put on that nice jewelry. You know, the stuff that I gave you, put that on. Make yourself look real nice for him. We read about that in the book of Judith. Well, we might get it. We might get it. Keep reading.
And get thee down to the floor.
And get down to the floor. Go where he is.
But make not thyself known unto the man.
But go in and be shamefaced. Be quiet. Be subtle. Don't go in there like you chasing no man. Go in there and act like a freaking lady. Have some decorum about yourself. Come on.
Until he shall have done eating and drinking.
Until he shall have done eating and drinking. So don't disturb him while he's eating and drinking. Go in and just be silent. Just be chill. Go along with the flow. Come on.
And it shall be, when he lieth down,
Uh-huh.
that thou shalt mark the place where he shall lie,
Uh-huh.
and thou shalt go in and uncover his feet,
And you're going to go in and uncover his feet. Come on.
and lay thee down, and he will tell thee what thou shalt do.
So she's explaining to her that it's customary, right? Like, I'm not giving you anything that's going to make you look bad or make him look bad. But what I want you to do is go in and lay at his feet. This is one of the highest levels of humility. Lay at his feet. Show him that you're submitting to him right off top. All right? And when he sees that, if he's a wise man, he's going to know what he should do. So this goes into the proving process. After you've proved for a time, there's a point that you should see with wisdom, the man, that, okay, you know what? I can take this woman to be my wife. And there is a time that a woman knows that she's prepared or that she's ready, right? That's why you go through the process and you take your time doing it so that both of y'all know and understand that we're ready to move forward with the next step, which would be marriage. All right, keep reading.
And she said unto her,
Uh-huh.
all that thou sayest unto me, I will do.
So guess what Ruth said to her mother-in-law? She said, yes, ma'am. Everything that you've told me, I will do. But guess what? That means that Ruth had an understanding of what Naomi was telling her. Why? Because she had been instructed. When she came in, even though she was a heathen, went through the process, she then began to receive instructions from Naomi. So over that period of time that she was under Naomi, Naomi was teaching her what she was supposed to do, what our customs were, and how she was supposed to conduct herself as a woman and as a wife amongst the Israelites. So it's the same thing for you sisters. Y'all got to get instructions, and you got to learn how you're supposed to move. And brothers, your mind is supposed to be wise and prudent enough to be able to see that, okay, I can take this sister to be my wife. I have not rushed it. I have not done wrong by her. I'm not taking her for lust. I can see now that it's time for me to move forward. All right? All of that comes with counsel. It comes with prayer. It comes with fasting so that you have the best understanding of it. All right? All right. So she said, all that thou sayest unto me, I will do. And I'm saying that's with understanding. Verse 6.
And she went down into the floor and did according to all that her mother-in-law bade her.
You see that? She received instructions and applied it. This is all stuff that goes in the Bible. This is all biblical. This is proving with wisdom. Watch this. Give me Sirach chapter 26. Let's go to Sirach 26. And for sisters, I want y'all to understand something. I'm saying this to y'all. Two of the most important chapters that you can read in the Bible. There's many, but there's two chapters in the Bible that you should constantly be going through and gain an understanding of. And that is Proverbs 31. Every last one of y'all should know Proverbs 31. That should not be an issue for you to understand it. And when you're reading it, in the beginning, it's going to be hard, right? It's very much against the Babylonian mindset, the Negro woman mind, the Hispanic woman mind. Proverbs 31 will show you how you're supposed to conduct yourself in order to be a wife. That means to make yourself wifey material. The second book is the book of Sirach, or Ecclesiasticus, chapter 26. I encourage y'all to read those. That was taught to me. Shout out Captain Lemuel for that, because, man, I never even thought about it that way. Those two chapters are extremely important for a woman trying to get married. I mean, of course, you have 1 Timothy chapter 2. You've got Titus 2. You've got 1 Peter chapter 3 that shows how Sarah dealt with Abraham. So you got many places that you can go. But those two, Proverbs 31 and Sirach 26, extremely important. And I encourage you, sisters, to stay in those books and learn them very well. They will be a comfort and give you hope to be able to get married. All right? Sirach 26. Start at verse number 14. Sirach 26. And let's start at verse number. We're going to read 14 and 15.
Sirach chapter 26 and verse 14.
Come on.
A silent and loving woman is a gift of the Lord.
So understand first that a silent and loving woman, which is what Naomi told her to do. She said, go in there, don't make no bunch of noise. Don't go in there trying to be seen. Go in there shamefaced. Be silent and loving. Be kind. Be tender. Be gentle. But the Bible says, read it again.
A silent and loving
kind, gentle woman
is a gift of the Lord.
You become a gift. You become a gift from God to a man. Read.
And there is nothing so much worth as a mind well instructed.
And there is nothing more valuable than a woman with a well-instructed mind. Remember, we read in Ruth chapter 3 that after Naomi gave her the instructions, Ruth's words were, everything that you've told me, I understand it, and I will apply it. That's a well-instructed mind, sisters. All right? Read verse number 15.
A shamefaced and faithful woman.
A shamefaced and faithful woman, meaning a woman that moves according to the counsel that she's received,
is a double grace.
Is a double grace to a man. You are more honorable. Come on.
And her continent mind cannot be valued.
You can't put no value on her continent mind. Read Proverbs 31 and verse 10. Because it says the same thing. Proverbs 31 and verse 10. Watch this. This is why I say Sirach 26 and Proverbs 31. Watch this.
Proverbs chapter 31 and verse 10.
Read.
Who can find a virtuous woman?
Who can find a woman with virtue? Read.
For her price is far above rubies.
She's invaluable. Her price, the value of that woman, is way above any amount of money that you can think of. This is what the Bible is telling us. All right? So understand, your mind must be well instructed, shamefaced, loving, kindness, soft in your speech, gentle in your actions and in your approaches. It's not that women can't say nothing to men. Don't get that twisted, y'all. It's not that women can't say nothing to a man. However, you must learn to move in wisdom. When you learn to speak softly, give me that in, what is that, Proverbs 15 and 1? Proverbs 15 and 1, I think it is. I'm going off of, I don't have these nowhere. Yeah, Proverbs 15 and 1. Read that.
The book of Proverbs, chapter 15 and verse 1. A soft answer turneth away wrath, but grievous words stir up anger.
You see that? So when we go back and read back in Ruth 3, you'll see that when Naomi told her to go in, not to make herself seen, known, or none of that, just go in and chill, but beautify yourself, put on the good perfume, all of that. She's explaining to her this. Because a lot of women, y'all have a tendency that as soon as a man says something you don't like or you feel offended, you and your emotions, you want to talk trash and you think that that's making you fly. In your mind, in our mind, it make a man hate your guts because he don't want to deal with you. And you're not going to get married acting like that. Trust me, if you proven and you talking to the brother that you proven any old type of way, again, not saying that you can't say nothing, but if you talking to him any old type of way, talking to him crazy, yeah, he going to drop you. I would hope he drop you and not take you in because you're not a silent and loving woman. He going to basically take in a scorpion and be getting stung all the days of your life because once you in the house with him, you ain't changing it. You ain't giving that up. Your mouth going to be slick as ever. Read chapter 14 and verse 1.
Proverbs chapter 14 and verse 1.
Come on.
Every wise woman buildeth her house.
Every woman that has accepted and put forth or acted on wisdom does what?
Every wise woman buildeth her house.
When you apply the wisdom that you've been taught, you will build your house. But if not, read.
But the foolish,
those that don't hear and apply it,
plucketh it down with her hands.
You're going to pluck it down with your hands. So you're going to wreck your own proving process because of your slick mouth and stupidity, not learning how to be wise according to the things that are taught. You got women, aged women, that are trying to teach you wisdom and show you how to get rest in a husband's house, and your mind is so foolish that you can't take instruction and apply it because you're so prideful. That's really what it is. It's pride. All right, go back to Sirach 26. I won't get on no soapbox with that thing. Go to Sirach 26. Now go to Sirach 36, and I want to go to verses 22 and 23.
Sirach chapter 36 and verse 22.
Come on.
The beauty of a woman cheereth the countenance.
So the reason that she went and beautified herself, again, Naomi being a wise woman, told her to go beautify yourself. That's what she told her when she said go and bathe, oil yourself down, put on your good perfumes, put on your nicest clothes, jewelry, right? Sandals, get your toes done, your nails done. You ain't got to go spend no $100 on it either, man. You could do it at home for less. But if you got the money, go get it done. But don't be covetous and go spend $100 on your stuff, because that don't impress a man either. Just nice, clean nails, a nice basic or general paint color, even clear nails is good to a lot of brothers. But that's my personal thing. Head wrap, do all of that stuff. The reason she told her that is because of this right here. Verse 22. Read that again.
The beauty of a woman cheereth the countenance.
So when she made herself beautiful, Naomi knew that going in before Boaz was going to cheer his countenance. Here's a woman that he's been kind of looking at. He's already asking questions about her. He's getting reports about her. He's giving her access, to the rest of the field to be able to take what it is that she needs to provide for the household that she's in at the time. She knew that this was going to make him happy to see her come in looking good, smelling good. Read.
And a man loveth nothing better.
And a man loves nothing better than a beautiful woman. We just don't stumble at your beauty. We just don't lust or take you because you're beautiful. Read.
If there be kindness.
If. Now look at this, because it says that you can be beautiful, but there's a contingency. A beautiful woman that is not kind is a thorn in a man's side. But these are your women that are beautiful as hell, built nice, the way you want them to be built, and they can't keep a husband. And you got to ask why. It's because, read that again, verse 22, 23.
If there be kindness.
If you're beautiful and kind, it's a good thing. Read.
Meekness.
You have meekness. That'll help to make your beauty, your outer beauty, more attractive. Come on.
And comfort.
Comfort
in her tongue.
In your speech. Naomi was directing this sister on what to do. Read.
Then is not her husband like other men.
Then is her husband not like other men. Sheesh. Now he happy. Now he's ready to go out and bust his behind to get not only the things that you need, but also to provide things that you want. My Lord, we've got 3 kids now, and I appreciate this 2-bedroom, 2-bath apartment that we've been in, and we can make it work. I've been able to make it work, and I appreciate it all. You do so much for me, and for your children. You're a good Lord. I'm telling you, if you talk like that to your husband, he's gonna be like, man, hold on, what you trying to get? And especially if you already been acting the way you supposed to act like this, he listening. He listening now. He done walked in and you doing this sweet talk to him, and you got your hair wrapped up right, your perfume on in your dress, and then you hit him with, but I was wondering, is it possible do you think that we might be able to get a 3-bedroom? Do you think that we might be able to get a 4-bedroom so that, the kids could have their own room, and then you and I could have our room, and maybe we could have our bathroom inside of our bedroom so that we don't have to go outside, of the bedroom when we need to prepare, when I'm bathing and putting on my oils and things. Do you think maybe we might be able to do that? I mean, if not, I understand. But I was looking at some things, and I've already looked, and I've got some suggestions that I can make if you want to hear them. Guess what, sisters? A man gonna hear that. You're not coming with just a problem. You're coming with soft speech, and you already got some solutions on how you think we might be able to get it done. And your mind is already prepared that if you have to do extra to help bring in a little extra in order for that goal to be achieved, that you're going to work with him to achieve that goal. You don't think he going to be okay with it? Sisters, y'all got to, sheesh. I'm giving y'all a good game right now. Proven with wisdom. Set your mind to be ready to be what that man needs you to be. His pillar of rest, not a pillar of stress. All right, so we begin to see the importance of Naomi and the purpose of aged women being there to teach the young women, because we see the things that Naomi has told Ruth to this point. Let's go back to the book of Ruth. Go back, because I can ramble about stuff like this all day, man. It just warms my heart to even think that this can happen for a brother, right? So let's go back. Actually, you know what? Actually, let's go to Titus 2. Because this is for all of you who don't understand, the Apocrypha is actually books of the Bible. 80 books. When King James authorized it in 1611, well, he authorized it in 1605, completed 1611. But there were 80 books in the Bible, and the book of Sirach is one of those. If you look up and study intertestamental period, then you'll gain understanding as to when these 80 books were all put together, how they were put together, and you'll see that it was your Christian Lutheran church that pulled 14 books out because they said, nah, we don't want those. There's a reason. All right, but we won't go into that now. Titus chapter 2, give me verses 3 through 5. Let's look at the role that Naomi played to Ruth.
The book of Titus, chapter 2 and verse 3.
Come on.
The aged women likewise, that they be in behavior as becometh holiness.
So the aged women have to behave and show wisdom. They have to show holiness. So that's your job as an aged woman. If you're sitting and listening now, and you're already in the truth, your job is to guide young women coming in behind you. If you're an aged married woman or an aged widow, you have experience and knowledge that these young women need, and you should not despise your role. You should be willing to step up and step into the role of being a teacher to these young women, which is what the scripture is going to tell you. So the aged women, likewise, because the man has to be the same. He has to be separate. He has to be holy under God. So should the women. Read it again.
The aged women likewise, that they be in behavior as becometh holiness, not false accusers.
Not false accusers.
Not given to much wine.
Don't drink too much. You can drink, but don't drink too much. Don't be a drunkard. That's ugly on a woman. It's ugly on men. That's horrible on women. Read.
Teachers of good things.
So a woman can be a teacher. A lot of y'all argue and fuss about whether or not a woman can teach, because the scripture in Timothy that says, but I suffer not a woman to teach, nor to usurp authority over the man. Here it's saying that you can teach, but let's see who and what you can teach. Teacher of what?
Teachers of good things.
Teachers of the commandments, of the understanding of the wisdom that a woman is supposed to move in order to get married or stay married. Read.
That they may teach the young women.
That the aged women might do what?
That they may teach the young women.
That they may teach the young women. That's your job, aged women. That you may teach the young women. Come on.
To be sober.
To be sober like you supposed to be.
To love their husbands.
To love their husbands.
To love their children.
A woman has to be taught to love her children. 2024, we got a lot of women that hate their children. You send your daughters out dressed like whores, and they might be as young as 6 and 7 years old. And I'm saying dressed like whores because at 6, 7, they don't understand what they're doing. They just doing what they've seen you do and auntie and homegirls do. Probably even grandmama. They just doing what you're doing. And because you dressing with leggings and short skirts and short shorts on, you putting that on your daughters and sending them out the house. The Bible say, nope, you're supposed to teach them to be sober, meaning sober-minded, wise. They should learn from the youth up how they supposed to move as a woman. So by the time they're of marriageable age, which is the age of 20, some man who's in the truth, righteous, and understanding himself might be viewing them and saying, you know what, in a few years, she might make a good wife. That's how you're supposed to be doing. That's what you're supposed to be teaching. That's who you're supposed to be teaching and what you're supposed to be teaching. So a woman can be a teacher, but you despise your role. You don't want to teach what God says you can teach. You'd rather try to usurp authority by becoming pastor this and minister this and prophet this. Man, shut up. Teach what you're supposed to teach. Read it again.
That they may teach.
That the woman, that aged woman might teach.
The young women.
You're a teacher of young women and children. Read.
To be sober.
To be wise, sober-minded, clear in your thinking.
To love their husbands.
You got to teach them to love their husbands. Read.
To love their children.
And to not make their daughters whores and to make their sons sodomites. You got to learn to love your children, discipline them, feed them the right food so they not fat as hell by the time they 12 and 13 years old. Love your children. Read.
To be discreet.
To be discreet, not all in somebody's face, not loud. Read.
Chaste.
Chaste, under control, some constraint.
Keepers at home.
Keepers at home.
Good.
Good, meaning keeping the commandments.
Obedient to their own husband.
Like we read in Genesis chapter 3, verse 16. You go to him for all things and submit yourselves. Read.
That the word of God be not blasphemed.
So that you're not going against the order that God set up for us in marriage. But these are things that you should be learning while you're proving. Before you even go into the proving process, you should know these things. But you should definitely gain a good understanding of them so that by the time the proving process ends, marriage takes place, and now you're moving in the wisdom that you were given. And the counsel don't stop there, because once you get in the house, guess what, Elisha? You still going to be proven. Because you're not going to know whether or not, you know, how bad this woman sleeps until you're in the house with her.
Right.
You're not going to know whether or not she's one to eat all manner of food that causes her to have gas and she just laying in bed farting all night. You're not going to know what her hygiene, you know, is really like. Like, nobody, for the most part, comes into the congregation smelly, right? But you don't know if this woman only takes a bath before she comes to Sabbath. The rest of the week, she just thugging it out, you know? So when you get in the house, you still going to be proven. And she's still going to be proving you. You know what I mean? All right, so let's go back. Let's go back. Ruth chapter 3. So I had to bring all of that out. I know that took some time, but I'm telling y'all, take your time. Believe me, take my advice and take your time and prove with wisdom. Ruth chapter 3, start at verse 4.
Ruth chapter 3 and verse 4.
No. As a matter of fact, we had already read past 4 and 5. So now we look at in 4 and 5 Ruth and see the instructions that she was given by Naomi. So now she goes down to where Boaz is at the threshing floor, and they're going to eat dinner. Let's see what happens based on the instructions that she was given. Read that again, verse 6.
Verse 6. And she went down into the floor.
Uh-huh.
And did according to all that her mother-in-law bade her.
So she went down where she was supposed to go, and she what?
And did according to all that her mother-in-law bade her.
And she did according to all that Naomi told her to do. She followed it to it. She gained understanding on it. So, sisters, if you're in a position when it comes to proving and you hear something, stop moving like the first thing you heard is exactly what it is. Sisters that's out here bugging out talking about. So, sisters, you can't tell somebody that they have to prove you for so long. And if so, guess what? The brother just going to find somebody else to prove because you ain't moving with understanding. And it's not to say that I'm encouraging nobody to only go a year. I'm not saying that. I'm saying, but that's the guideline. Be careful not to take into your mind understanding that's really outside of what's being told to you. 2 and 3 years is good. It's said, all right? 2 and 3 years is good. And I'm encouraging. Hell, in the first one, I said the same thing. But sisters, move with understanding of the instructions that you're being given. Brothers, move with understanding of the instructions that you're being given. All right, read that again.
Verse 6. And she went down unto the floor, and did according to all that her mother-in-law bade her.
And she did all that according to what Naomi told her. Come on.
And when Boaz had eaten and drunk,
Uh-huh.
and his heart was merry.
His heart was merry. Why? Because he was drinking. He was drinking. And that wasn't water he was drinking. He had some of that yak, probably, or some of that strong wine. And his heart was merry. Wine makes your heart merry, but you don't partake in it excessively. All right? So his heart was merry. Come on.
He went to lie down at the end of the heap of corn.
Uh-huh.
And she came softly.
And she came how?
And she came softly.
And she came softly. Why? Because in verse 3, that's what Naomi told her. Read.
And uncovered his feet.
And uncovered his feet.
And laid her down.
She did exactly what she was told in verse 3. She followed the instructions that she was given. Go back to Sirach real quick. Sirach chapter 6. Because this is important, man. Sirach chapter 6. And read verse 18 first.
Sirach chapter 6 and verse 18.
Come on.
My son, gather instruction from thy youth up.
Gather instruction from your youth up. When you're young, begin to gain understanding. Gather instruction from your youth up. Come on.
So shalt thou find wisdom till thine old age.
And then you're going to find wisdom in your old age. Meaning, as a child, you should begin. And right now, you're babes because we're all coming in learning. I'm a babe. We all coming in learning. So right now is the time that you learn the instructions or the commandments that God gave us. And then you begin to move in them accordingly so that when you're full of age, now wisdom is applied. Wisdom has attached itself to you. Now you have understanding according to what the word of God is telling you. All right? Jump over to verse number 27. Yep, verse number 27.
Verse 27.
Uh-huh.
Search and seek.
Search and seek out of the book of the Lord and read Isaiah 34:16. Come on.
And she shall be made known unto thee.
And also at the feet of your elders, search and seek wisdom. And this wisdom is going to be made known to. Wisdom is spoken of in a feminine term. And wisdom will be showed to you. Come on.
And when thou hast got hold of her.
And when you have gotten a hold of wisdom.
Let her not go.
Don't let her go. Don't begin to be foolish. Don't fall into foolish things because you've already been instructed on the right things to do. That's what we see Ruth doing. She was instructed in exactly how she was told to do it. She went in and did that very thing. All right. Verse 28.
For at the last thou shalt find her rest.
Uh-huh.
And that shall be turned to thy joy.
And that shall be turned to thy joy. Why? Because you found rest. You found comfort. You found hope in those scriptures, in the instructions that you were given from the Bible and from your leadership, from your elders. Now you found rest. That rest is your comfort and your hope. Things will go well. Joshua 1 and 8. Joshua 1 and 8, while I'm thinking about it. Read that.
The book of Joshua, chapter 1 and verse 8.
Come on.
This book of the law shall not depart out of thy mouth.
Uh-huh.
But thou shalt meditate therein day and night.
Read.
That thou mayest observe to do according to.
That you observe to do according to these ordinances. Read.
Observe to do according to all that is written therein.
Read.
For then thou shalt make thy way prosperous.
Then, when you follow them and apply it the way you were instructed, will you make your way prosperous? Read.
And then thou shalt have good success.
Then you're going to have good success. And we're going to see this in the story of Ruth. So again, when it comes to proving, follow the instructions that you're given, because by following them and keeping them, that's how you're going to enter into a successful marriage, a successful covenant and agreement. Apply men what it is you're told to do. Apply women what it is you're told to do. And when y'all apply those two things and come together, you're going to be one and move on one accord. Then you're going to be successful, blessed by God. Let no man put asunder what the Lord hath put together, right? Read verse 32 and 34. 32 through 34.
Verse, Sirach, chapter 6 and verse 32.
Still talking about applying that and seeking that wisdom. Come on.
My son.
Or daughter.
If thou wilt.
If thou wilt. That word wilt means if you will. Come on.
Thou shalt be taught.
If you desire or will, you will be taught. Come on.
And if thou wilt.
If you desire it.
Apply thy mind.
If you desire to apply your mind,
thou shalt be prudent.
You're going to gain the wisdom and the successful results that you're looking for. I want to look at the definitions of those words because I know people be like, well, the Bible too hard to read. Man, God. Pull those up real quick. I sent you some screenshots. You can see those, Alicia.
Yes, sir. Wilt.
Uh-huh.
Archaic.
Archaic definition, meaning this is the old ancient definition. Come on.
Second person singular of will.
Second person singular of will. So wilt is the same word as will. Give me the next word because now I want to see the definition of the word will. The word will has multiple definitions, but we went down to the third one, which explains exactly what this wilt or will in the Bible is saying. Just read number 2. Bring it back up. Yep, just read number 2.
Number 2, formal, literary.
Literary. So the formal or literary definition of the word will, come on.
Intend.
Intend.
Desire.
Desire.
Or wish something to happen.
Or wish something to happen. So go back and read that, Sirach 6:32.
Sirach chapter 6 and verse 32.
Come on.
My son, if thou wilt.
If you intend, desire, or wish it to happen,
thou shalt be taught.
You will be taught. Someone will teach you. The problem is a lot of y'all hard-headed as hell and you don't want to be taught. Hell, I'm hard-headed. I'm hard-headed. Nobody moves 100% perfect in the instructions that we're given. But what I'm explaining to you today is that if you apply yourself to the teachings that you're receiving and you actually receive it and apply it, then you will be taught. You will learn what it is you're supposed to learn. Keep reading.
And if thou wilt apply thy mind, thou shalt be prudent.
Thou shalt be prudent. Come on.
If thou love to hear.
If you love to hear the instructions,
thou shalt receive understanding.
That's what I said earlier. Hear the instructions, then you're going to gain understanding of them. If something you hear doesn't make sense, ask, what does that mean? What did he say? Why did he say that? Okay, cool. So that's the rule, though? Okay. Okay, all right. So that's good instructions that he's given. Taking more time is excellent. But the rule is we only have to go a year. Okay, I understand that. Cool. I won't open my mouth to say that I've got to go this long in order to do it, because that wasn't the instruction. It was a suggestion made to you, but it was you making it like two of our leaders were going against one another or something, saying something opposite of each other. That's crazy work. Verse 33 again.
Verse 33. If thou love to hear.
If you love to hear, meaning if you actually listen attentively,
thou shalt receive understanding.
Then you're going to gain that understanding. James is saying this. James 1, I think, and 9 is saying the same thing. Ask of God, and you'll receive it liberally. But don't ask out of foolishness or out of sin, because you're not going to receive nothing with a double mind. Come on.
And if thou bow thine ear.
Meaning if you give your ear to hearing, understanding,
thou shalt be wise.
You're gonna obtain wisdom. Come on.
Stand in the multitude of the elders.
Stay around the aged women, sisters. Stay around the aged married women, ones that you know you're not hearing bad things about them. You're not hearing nobody. You're not seeing them act crazy with their husband and constantly move out of order. Stick with those women. Stick with those women. Stand in the multitude of the elders, brothers, amongst your leadership, married men. Gain your instruction from married men. Men that have been married for some time. Men that you've seen move wisely with their wives. So stand in the multitude of the elders. Come on.
And cleave unto him that is wise.
Cleave, meaning hold on tightly. Stick closely to a man that is wise. Read Psalms 19:7 real quick, because what is it that makes us wise? I didn't have this nowhere either. But what is it that makes us wise?
The book of Psalms, chapter 19 and verse 7. The law of the Lord is perfect.
The law of God is perfect.
Converting the soul.
And it changes your soul. Read.
The testimony of the Lord is sure.
The testimony of God is sure, meaning it's not going to fail. Read.
Making wise the simple.
So the testimonies and the law will take a simple-minded man to a wise man. That's how you're going to gain wisdom, because you're sitting under people and cleaving to people that are teaching and living by the commandments of God. And that's going to make you wise. All right? There was another word, prudent, but Yeah, go ahead. Let's go. Pull up the word prudent just real quick. That one I gave you. Because in that verse it said, thou shalt be prudent if you move the way you're supposed to. Let's read prudent.
Prudent. Synonyms of prudent. Characterized by arising from or showing prudence.
Such as?
Such as marked by wisdom or judiciousness.
Marked by wisdom. That's a prudent person. So you're going to become wise or prudent. All right, let's go back. Let's go back. And now, read verse 37 in Sirach.
Verse 37.
Uh-huh.
Let thy mind be upon the ordinances of the Lord.
So, in this instructions that you're receiving, you're also studying to show yourself approved, so you know what's going on, so you know what to have questions about, right? So it said, if you meditate continually, let thy mind be upon the ordinances of the Lord, and do what?
And meditate continually.
Meaning you're always meditating on them so that you know that you're gaining understanding of them. Read.
In his commandments.
Uh-huh.
He shall establish thine heart and give thee wisdom at thy own desire.
There you go. Now you'll receive wisdom liberally at your own desire. All right? And there's a bunch of scriptures that go into applying the wisdom and how to receive wisdom. Sirach 32, I think it is, right, that says, do nothing without counsel, right? So move with wisdom. Move in counsel. Cleave to the elders. Cleave to them. Go back to Ruth. Now we're going to read verse number 9. Read verse number 8, because in verse 7 it says she came in softly, she uncovered his feet and laid down at his feet like she was commanded.
Ruth chapter 3 and verse 8.
Uh-huh.
And it came to pass at midnight that the man was afraid and turned himself, and behold, a woman lay at his feet.
So now, in the middle of the night, after he'd been laying down and that good feeling that wore off of him, he wakes up. And when he wakes up, it's somebody at his feet. And he like, oh, shoot. Who the hell is this? Read.
And he said, who art thou?
Hey, man, hey, who are you? What you doing down there at my feet? Read.
And she answered, I am Ruth thy handmaid.
I am Ruth thine handmaid. I'm here to serve you. I'm Ruth your servant. Read.
Spread therefore thy skirt over thy handmaid, for thou art a near kinsman.
What does she do? She proclaimed the law to him. She showed her wisdom. She said, spread your skirt over me. What does it mean by spread your skirt over me? Go to Ezekiel chapter 16 and verse 8. She said, spread your skirt over me. And we're going to explain what that means. Spread your skirt over me.
Ezekiel chapter 16 and verse 8.
Uh-huh.
Now, when I passed by thee and looked upon thee, behold, thy time was the time of love.
So God said, when I passed by you and looked over you, it was the time of love. This is God speaking to Ezekiel, but it's a reference to God to Israel. Come on.
And I spread my skirt over thee.
And he did what?
And I spread my skirt over thee.
And I spread my skirt over you. I spread my skirt over you. What does it mean he spread his skirt? Read.
And covered thy nakedness.
Uh-huh.
Yea, I swore unto thee, and enter into a covenant with thee, saith the Lord God.
Yes, spread your skirt over me is her letting Boaz know that she understands that Deuteronomy 25, 5 through 10 is supposed to take place. She's giving herself as a possession to Boaz. She's offering herself as a possession. She's saying, claim me to be your possession. Claim me to be your possession. That's what she's telling them. All right? So let's go back. Remember, the scripture says, when a man findeth a wife, or when a man getteth a wife, he begetteth beginneth a possession. That's what it means, spread your skirt over me. Spread your covering over me. Why? Because the man is the covering for the woman, like Christ is the covering for the man, and God is the covering for Christ. 1 Corinthians 11. Go back and read it for yourself. 11, 1 through 3. All right? 1 through 4, actually. 1 Corinthians 11, 1 through 4. All right? So that's what she's saying. So go back to Ruth. She said, spread your skirt over me because you're my next of kin. So he sees and he's hearing that she understands what's supposed to take place. And now let's see how Boaz moves. Is he going to move in wisdom? Read.
Ruth chapter 3 and verse 10. And he said, Blessed be thou of the Lord, my daughter, for thou hast showed more kindness in the latter end than at the beginning.
He said, man, you really have shown yourself to be wise. From the time that I first met you to now, I can see the wisdom in you. Come on.
Inasmuch as thou followest not young men, whether poor or rich.
You see that? Because remember, in chapters 1 and 2, Boaz explained to the young men, don't touch her. Treat her like everybody else. Don't rebuke her and be out here tripping. Right? Now, I don't mean rebuke if she got out of line. But he like, look, if she's doing what she's supposed to do, just keep a watchful eye over her and let her move like we move. We know she a heathen, but come on, bro. Stay in order. All right? So that's why it said here that she moved and she didn't follow after young men. She wasn't out in the field being horny, being all in men's faces and laughing and giggling with them and stuff. She went in there, did her work. She did what Naomi had taught her to do, and she handled herself like a wise woman. And now she's saying, I understand that this is what's supposed to take place. And he says, hey, you're right. That's exactly what I'm supposed to do. All right? Verse 11.
Verse 11. And now, my daughter, fear not. I will do to thee all that thou requirest. For all the city of my people doth know that thou art a virtuous woman.
Wow. How did the whole city, notice, he said the whole city knew. Remember, I got to go back to chapter 2. Go back to Ruth chapter 2 real quick. Ruth chapter 2 and verse number 4. Ruth 2 and 4.
Chapter 2 and verse 4. And behold, Boaz came from Bethlehem and said unto the reapers.
So unto all of the men and women that were in the field reaping the grains.
The Lord be with you. And they answered him, the Lord bless thee.
So he said shalom, and he blessed them. Go ahead.
Then said Boaz unto his servant that was set over the reapers.
So he said now to his manager of his business, what did he say to him?
Whose damsel is this? And the servant that was set over the reapers answered and said, It is the Moabitish damsel that came back with Naomi out of the country of Moab. And she said, I pray you, let me glean and gather after the reapers among the sheaves. So she came, and have continued even from the morning until now. And she tarried a little in the house.
You see that? He received a report. So go back to Ruth chapter 3, verse 11.
Ruth chapter 3 and verse 11. And now, my daughter, fear not. I will do to thee all that thou requirest.
I will follow Deuteronomy chapter 25. I will follow the law according to how it's written to raise up seed to our next of kin. Come on.
For all the city of my people doth know that thou art a virtuous woman.
Because you have had a good report and moved as a wise woman and in a wifely way, and the whole city is saying it, I'm going to do what I'm supposed to do with you. I'm going to take you to be my wife. Sisters, y'all got to understand. Brothers, y'all got to understand. After some time, after good reports poured in, after she showed herself to be what she said with her mouth she was, now Boaz says, I'm comfortable doing what I'm supposed to do. This is proven with wisdom. Read verse 12.
Verse 12. And now it is true that I am thy near kinsman. Howbeit, there is a kinsman nearer than I. So
now Boaz is really showing virtue, right? So he's saying, you know what? I know y'all believe that I'm the next of kin, but there's actually somebody before me that actually has first right of redemption. Read.
Tarry this night.
So he says, stay here right now, tonight.
And it shall be in the morning that if he will perform unto thee the part of a kinsman, well. Let him do the kinsman's part. But if he will not do the part of a kinsman to thee, then will I do the part of a kinsman to thee, as the Lord liveth.
I promise. Read.
Lie down until the morning.
So notice, now he's explaining that I'm going to enter into a covenant with you if the man that's ahead of me does not enter into a covenant with you. And when we read now, and also he said, hey, that tarry until morning. I want you to see something. Go ahead and read verse number 14.
Verse 14. And she lay at his feet until the morning. And she rose up before one could know another.
She rose up before anybody else was awake. She went on ahead and got some sleep, but then she rose up early in the morning. Why? Because she didn't want to look like she was not a virtuous woman. She didn't want to look like she was creeping out of his doors, out of his house, out of his apartment late at night, like they had been doing something that they weren't supposed to do. She made sure that when people saw her, that what they saw is really what it was. So she didn't want to be seen in a bad light, but neither did Boaz, though. Jump over to Matthew real quick. Matthew chapter 1. Watch this. Matthew chapter 1. And verse number 19.
Matthew chapter 1 and verse 19.
Uh-huh.
Then Joseph, her husband, being a just man.
Being a just man, a man of virtue, a man that keeps the commandments of God and fear of the Lord. Read.
And not willing to make her a public example. Was minded to put her away.
You see that? He didn't want to make Ruth a public example. That's why he said, tarry here. And she understood to rise up before other people did, so it didn't look like she was creeping in the middle of the night with Boaz. Both of them were concerned with keeping, not only having, but keeping a good name. All right? Go back to Ruth chapter 3. So understand that. So he gave her a gift. When we read in verse 15 and 16, she takes it back to Naomi, and Naomi understands that what he gave her as a gift, what he was saying. And then Ruth explained back to Naomi what it was that took place. All right? Read verse 18, 3 and 18.
Ruth chapter 3 and verse 18. Then said she, sit still, my daughter.
She said, stay calm and be patient. Let the Lord do the work that he's going to do, because there is somebody in front of him. I didn't know that, but it's good that he told us that. So be patient and let's let the Lord play this out. Come on.
Until thou know the matter will fall.
How the matter will fall. Why? Because the other man might be the one to say that he's going to step up and redeem you. Come on.
For the man will not be in rest until he have finished the thing this day.
She said he's going to be diligent. He's going to take care of this today. Cool. Now, let's jump into chapter 4. If y'all noticed, I went into Matthew. I went a couple of places because all of this in Ruth, when we move precept upon precept, begins to paint a beautiful picture, right, for us of what proven with wisdom looks like. And it proves a deeper picture down the line, but that ain't for today. All right? That ain't for today. Ruth chapter 4 and verse 1.
Ruth chapter 4 and verse 1. Then went Boaz up to the gate.
So he did exactly what he said. He did exactly as Naomi said. He will not rest until he takes care of this today. So when he rose up, he got himself together. He went up to the gates. This is where your elders and your leaders were sitting. Come on.
And sat him down there. And behold, the kinsman of whom Boaz spake came by, unto whom he said, ho, such a one.
Hey, excuse me. Hey, brother, kinfolk, let me talk to you. Come on.
Turn aside. Sit down here. And he turned aside and sat down. And he took 10 men of the elders of the city and said, sit ye down here. And they sat down.
Now, why did he do that? Because remember, everything has to be established by the mouth of 2 or more witnesses. So he gathered 10 men. He was like, look, I'm definitely going to make sure that this is recorded and that I have witnesses to say what took place today, whether it goes the way that I desire or not. Read.
And he said unto the kinsman, Naomi, that is come again out of the country of Moab, selleth a parcel of land, which was of our brother Elimelech. All right. So now he's laying out what the matter is in front of the brother that he's talking to and in front of the people that are going to judge the matter, the elders, the leadership. All right. This shows that Boaz is moving in wisdom. He knows the commandments. He's keeping the commandments, all right? So Boaz is not moving as a foolish person. Come on, keep reading. And I thought to advertise thee, saying, buy it before the inhabitants and before the elders of my people. If thou wilt redeem it, redeem it.
So he said, if you're going to redeem it, go ahead, because you know the law. So you're the first one that has a right to redeem it. But if you don't, then cool, all right? Now, read verse 5, because he's going to lay something out in verse 5.
Verse 5. Then said Boaz, what day thou buyest the field of the hand of Naomi, thou must buy it also of Ruth the Moabitess, the wife of the dead, to raise up the name of the dead upon his inheritance.
So now everybody sees going directly into Deuteronomy, right, of the law of raising up seed. Deuteronomy 25 and 5 through 10. So now he's explaining it clearly that this is what he's doing. He's showing that he's a virtuous man and he's going to keep the commandments of God. He's going to raise up seed to his brother that is passed. All right. And he's explaining to the kinfolk, but hey, look, you do realize, though, that you're going to have to also take Ruth because she comes with it. She's part of the package. All right. Jump down to verse 7.
Verse 7. Now this was the manner in former time in Israel concerning redeeming and concerning changing.
So this was the custom of how we showed if we were redeeming something and taking it in. Come on.
For to confirm all things, a man plucked off his shoe and gave it to his neighbor. And this was a testimony in Israel.
And this was a testimony. I don't give no shoes today as an agreement, but okay, back then, that's what they did. Verse 9.
Verse 9. And Boaz said unto the elders and unto all the people, ye are the witnesses this day, that I have brought all that was Elimelech's, and all that was Kilion's, and Malon's, of the hand of Naomi.
So he's saying now, make sure that y'all understand, and we're going to record it this day, that this is taking place, and everything that Elimelech had and all the inheritance he had for his two sons that died now belongs to me. This was important because this is how we had to move. You read it in the book of Numbers, I think chapter 28, when it came to the three daughters whose father died, he had no sons. And then also in Deuteronomy 25. We do this so that the land that is given to any particular tribe does not begin to go and be split out to somebody of another tribe. This is how we kept all of our land within ourselves, within our own tribe, okay? We had to do this. All right, so that took place. Now jump down to verse number 11.
Verse 11. And all the people that were in the gate and the elders said, we are witnesses.
They agreed. We are witnesses. We've seen it. Go ahead.
The Lord make the woman that is come into thine house like Rachel and like Leah.
Now understand something. Right here, he said, make her like what? The woman? The Lord make
the woman that is come into thine house like Rachel and like Leah.
Wow. Because she moved and he moved in the way that they were supposed to, God said, now let this woman become like Rachel and Leah. We understand who that is. Rachel and Leah are the foremothers of the 12 tribes of Israel. God said, let this woman be blessed to bring righteous seed into the earth. Become like Rachel and Leah. And it goes further, but let's see. Read.
Which two did build the house of Israel.
They built the house of Israel. So let her be like those two who built the house of Israel.
And do thou worthily in
Ephratah.
And be famous in Bethlehem.
So let her be like Rachel and Leah. Those two built the house of Israel. Let her do worthily in Ephratah and be famous in Bethlehem. Go to Matthew chapter 1. Matthew chapter 1. Let's see if that took place. Y'all got to read your Bible with understanding. Read your Bible with understanding. Matthew chapter 1 and verse number 5.
Matthew chapter 1 and verse 5. And Salmon begot Boaz of Rechab.
Which of Rechab.
And Boaz begat Obed of Ruth. And Obed begat Jesse.
So this is Boaz, which was born of Rechab, and Boaz had a son that we're going to read about out of Ruth. Ruth's name is written here because this is what was spoken. Not because God received her as an Israelite. Nope. That's not what it was. She's a heathen. But God said her name would be famous because of the actions that she took. It's no different than in Matthew 15:24 when the Syrophoenician woman, which actually we read about in Mark, but it's no different when the Syrophoenician woman received the blessing because she humbled herself and said, Lord, I know that I'm a dog. I know that I'm not worthy to receive of the bread's table, but even the dogs receive the crumbs of the master's table. God said, man, your faith is so, you know what? I'm going to give you what you're asking for. So for that reason, go back to Ruth chapter 4. And just read the bottom of that. And do thou worthily.
And do thou worthily in
Ephratah.
Uh-huh. And be famous in Bethlehem.
And be famous in Bethlehem. Or have your name proclaimed. That's why her name is in the book of Matthew chapter 1. It's proclaimed that Ruth was the mother that brought in a child by Boaz. That's why. But we had to be fruitful and multiply, right? Micah 5:2. We got 15 minutes. We're going to round this thing down. The book of Micah chapter 5 and verse 2. Yes.
Micah chapter 5 and verse 2. But thou, Bethlehem Ephratah, though thou be little among the thousands of Judah, yet out of thee shall he come forth unto me that is to be ruler in Israel.
Who is the ruler of Israel? Jesus the Christ. Jesus the Christ. This name was proclaimed because out of this line would come Jesus the Christ. But do not get it twisted, because the seed determines what the child's bloodline is. Numbers 1:18 says that you are what your father is. This ain't got nothing to do with the fact that he was born through Ruth. It was just promised that her name would be proclaimed. But Jesus Christ is a full-blood Jew, an Israelite from the tribe of Judah. Ephratah is what Micah 5:2 is saying. Come on.
Whose goings forth have been from of old.
From of old?
From everlasting.
Proverbs 8:22 through 32, I think. It tells you. Now, we're not going to read it. But that's why it says that he goes everlasting. That's Christ that is speaking of in Micah 5:2. That is Jesus the Christ. Out of Ephratah, Bethlehem, Judah. That's him. All right, so go back to Ruth. Go back to Ruth. I just had to drop that out there for y'all, man. Ruth 4 and 12.
Ruth chapter 4 and verse 12.
Come on.
And let thy house be like the house of Pharez.
And let your house be like the house of Pharez. One of our forefathers. We're going to read about it. Keep reading.
Whom Tamar bare unto Judah.
Whom Tamar bare unto Judah. Pharez came from our forefather Judah. You got to go back and read all of the stuff that you're supposed to read. This is back in the book of Genesis. What's that? Genesis chapter 23? No. Genesis 28 maybe. It's 28, 38. It's Genesis. I can't recall it, and I'm not going to press my mind right now. I'm having cloudy brain. But Pharez came out of Judah by Tamar. Go back and read the story. Read.
Of the seed which the Lord shall give thee of this young woman.
Of the seed which the Lord shall give thee of this young woman. Sheesh. So Boaz took her. He made her his wife, right? Read verse 13.
Verse 13. So Boaz took Ruth, and she was his wife.
Uh-huh.
And when he went in unto her, the Lord gave her conception, and she bare a son.
Who gave her conception?
The Lord gave her conception.
The Lord gave Ruth conception. Sheesh.
And the women said unto Naomi,
mm-hmm.
Blessed be the Lord.
Wait. And the women said unto who?
And the women said unto Naomi.
Ruth.
And the women said unto Naomi.
No, Ruth.
And the women said unto Naomi.
Huh. So Ruth is the one that did what she was supposed to do. She's the one that married Boaz. She's the one that laid down, slept with him, and after sex conceived because God ordained it to happen. But when the baby came out, it said that the baby was, the women said what to who?
And the women said unto Naomi.
Unto Naomi, the Israelite, not the Moabitess. What did they say to Naomi?
Blessed be the Lord, which hath not left thee this day without a kinsman, that his name may be famous in Israel.
You see that? His name is famous in Israel. Ruth's name is written in, but the fame is because of the lineage that Christ came through. Sheesh. The fame is because of who Christ came through, the bloodline of Israel. Christ is a Judite. For all of y'all out there to try to push that false doctrine going into where it says that a king would not sit, no son of Hezekiah would sit on the throne, or Zedekiah would sit on the throne. Look, y'all are stupid. Y'all don't, oh God, y'all don't study enough. But Christ comes from this lineage. All right? Keep reading.
And he shall be unto thee a restorer of thy life,
Uh-huh.
and a nourisher of thine old age.
Uh-huh.
For thy daughter-in-law, which loveth thee, which is better to thee than 7 sons, have borne him.
So they're clarifying that this baby was born of Ruth, but this baby is here to be a blessing to you, Naomi, the Israelite of Judah. This baby was made to be a blessing to you. 17.
Verse 17. And the women, her neighbors, gave it a name, saying.
So, wait. Who named the baby?
And the women, her neighbors.
So Naomi didn't name the baby. Boaz didn't name, and Ruth certainly didn't name the baby, but the women of Judah named this baby. Come on.
And the women, her neighbors, gave it a name, saying, there is a son born to Naomi.
They named this baby a son born to Naomi. God, dog. The women named this baby and gave him a name that was important. Read.
And they called his name Obed.
They called his name what?
And they called his name Obed.
Read.
He is the father of Jesse.
He is the father of Jesse.
The father of David.
God, dog. The father of David. Now, give me, because everybody at this point, y'all should see where this is going. Read that again, starting at verse number 17.
Verse 17.
Uh-huh.
And the women, her neighbors, gave it a name, saying, there is a son born to Naomi, and they called his name Obed.
There is a son born to Naomi, and they called his name Obed.
He is the father of Jesse, the father of David.
He is the father of Jesse, the father of David. Do we see that in the Bible? Go to the book of 1 Samuel. Go to the book of 1 Samuel, chapter 16. And read verse number 18.
1 Samuel chapter 16 and verse 18. Then answered one of the servants and said, behold, I have seen a son of Jesse the Bethlehemite that is cunning in playing, and a mighty valiant man, and a man of war, and prudent in matters. And a comely person.
And he looked good. He's a handsome man.
And the Lord is with him.
And who is this man? 19.
Wherefore Saul sent messengers unto Jesse, and said, send me David, thy son.
David, King David, who was the second king of Israel after Saul, is who God chose. Give me Romans chapter 1. Romans chapter 1. And read verse number 13. Why? Matter of fact, give me Matthew first. Give me Matthew 1. Matthew 1. And start at verse number 2. Start at verse number 1. We're going to read down. We got 6 minutes.
Matthew chapter 1 and verse 1.
Come on.
The book of the generations of Jesus Christ, the son of David, the son of Abraham.
So Jesus Christ is called the son of David and the son of Abraham. Read.
What club was that at?
That was admit that a lot of people don't even realize they.
I've called her. She hasn't responded. I've called her more than a few times.
But the Zulu Nation, I'm like, what the hell is this? I know nobody know what I'm talking about. You'll leave me on the island by myself. I don't know what the hell Bishop's talking about. That's what y'all do. Then after class, yeah, I knew what you were talking about. I just don't want to be caught out there. The hell is this? Get on my damn nerves. So read that again, 31.
And Judas begat Perez, and Zara.
Wait. And Judas begat who?
And Judas begat Perez.
That's what we read about in the book of Ruth, chapter 3 and verse number, and I'll read it myself, verse number 12. And let thy house be like the house of Pharez, whom Tamar bare unto Judah. We're looking at the lineage of Jesus Christ through the book of Ruth, who her and Boaz proved wisely to raise up seed. Keep reading.
And Judas begat Pharez.
And Judas begat Pharez.
And Zara of Tamar.
Of Tamar. So that's proof. Go ahead.
And Pharez begat.
And that is Genesis 38, 29 and 30. That's where it is. Genesis chapter 38, you read the story of Tamar and Judah. Judah and Tamar. Come on.
And Pharez begat Ezron.
Ezron.
And Ezron begat Aram.
Aram.
And Aram begat Aminadab.
Aminadab.
And Aminadab begat Nahshon.
Nahshon.
And Nahshon begat Salmon.
And Salmon.
And Salmon begat Boaz of Rechab.
And Boaz is Boaz. So Boaz's mother was Rechab. All right. Another heathen woman. Go ahead.
And Boaz begat Obed of Ruth.
And Boaz begat Obed of Ruth. It goes down the line. It goes down the line to show. Now, keep reading, though, because let's see what else happened.
And Obed begat Jesse.
And Obed begat Jesse.
And Jesse begat David the king.
And David the king.
And David the king begat Solomon, of her that had been the wife of Uriah.
Of Bathsheba. So when we read this lineage, it's showing all of the people that Christ's lineage came through. All of the men. It named 2 women. Ruth was one of them. But the lineage came through the men. Your seed is going to be blessed if you prove with wisdom. Do it righteously. Do it wisely so that your children are honored in the eyes of God. You don't do it foolishly. I won't call the scripture, but the Bible tells you that if you having babies outside of wedlock and so forth and so on, you're going to make it hard on them. You're going to make it hard on them. All right? Sheesh. All right. Go back to Ruth chapter 4. Ruth chapter 4.
Ruth chapter 4 and verse 17.
Now let's go to 19.
Verse 19. And Hezron begat Ram. And Ram begat Aminadab.
So the same thing that we read. Hezron, Aram. In Matthew, though, it didn't call him Hezron. In Matthew, it called him Ezram. And Ram, it called Aram. Come on.
And Aminadab begat Nahshon.
And Aminadab, that's mentioned, begat Nahshon.
And Nahshon begat Salmon.
And Nahshon begat Salmon. In Matthew 1, it's still spelled the same way, Salmon.
And Salmon begat Boaz.
Boaz, but in Matthew 1, in the Greek spelling, it says Boaz, B-O-O-Z. Come on.
And Boaz begat Obed.
And Boaz begat Obed.
And Obed begat Jesse. And Jesse begat David.
And Jesse begat David. Romans chapter 1, verse 13 through 16. And we'll shut it out. So you want to make sure that you are proving with wisdom so that your house and your seed is blessed by God. Got to prove with wisdom, brothers and sisters. Got to do it. This is way more serious than how you feel below and the tingling feeling that you have. Take your time, do it right, receive the blessing. Romans chapter 1, verse 13 through 16.
Romans chapter 1 and verse 13.
Come on.
Now, I would not have you ignorant, brethren, that oftentimes I purposed to come unto you, but was let hitherto, that I might have some fruit among you also.
I'm sorry, I said 13. Romans 1 and 3. I'm tripping. Romans 1 and 3. I'm sitting listening like, huh?
Romans chapter 1 and verse 3. Which he had promised afore by his prophets in the holy scriptures, concerning his son Jesus Christ our Lord, which was made of the seed of David according to the flesh.
He was made of the seed of David according to the flesh. This is the seed that was promised to come that would inherit all things and would rule the world in the end, Jesus the Christ. I pray you glean something out of this lesson. Prove with wisdom coming out of the book of Ruth. Today was chapter 3 and chapter 4. Shalom.
What is a nation?
Nation is men leading by example.